Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. For several years now, I have been working in corrections nursing, and some people can criticize that, but basically I'm doing socialized medicine. One of the biggest stresses to me doing standard medicine was always the conflict, the obvious conflict on a daily basis of, money and profit and politics over patient lives. That was an unending stress for me. So, as a corrections nurse, I treat inmates as human beings. They are human beings. They deserve medical care. The biggest stress for me is how badly inadequate the care is in many cases. And that's to be expected because most corrections nursing and medicine is contracted out to corporations that put, again, profit over care. So that's the biggest problem for me. But that's not the focus of what I'm talking about here. I'm not going to say where I'm working because that really doesn't matter because our entire system is set up very much the same way. It's a war on the poor to a very large degree. And yes, a lot of it is racist. So, when somebody comes into the correction system, much of the time, in the jail system, they have to be medically screened, take a medical history, vital signs, and different things like this. But what I see, that's only if they're going to actually be incarcerated for at least one day. We have to make sure that they're medically stable, that their needs are at least recognized, if not addressed immediately. But a lot of the time, what I see is police will bring in, say, 10 people that have been arrested. Well, it turns out that I only have to process 2 of those because 8 out of the 10 are going to bond out. And that's the cash bail system. So I've seen people with a $50,000 bond be able to lay down. In general, you pay 10% of the price of the bond to a bonding company, and you walk out of jail. That's it. So I've seen people with a $50,000 bail bond pay their $5,000 and walk out the door. So $50,000 bond is a serious offense, and yet they're walking out the door. And then I've seen people with a $300 bond that could not scrounge together the $30 they would have to pay a bondholder to be able to walk out. Who do you think is in the greatest need of getting out to be able to go to work? And that is very often what I hear from people. Am I going to lose my job over this? And a lot of people that I get into the system say they didn't even know a warrant was out for their arrest. They were picked up on a warrant that they didn't know existed. And in a lot of cases, what are these warrants for? No, they had a traffic ticket. They couldn't afford to pay it. And so a warrant is issued for their arrest. So that adds additional charges onto them. So they have to pay more. Well, if they didn't have the money in the first place, then where are they going to get the money from there? Even to pay the bond, a lot of the time they take out a loan from family, from payday lenders, which drives them further into debt and makes it less likely that they're going to be able to meet any additional charges in the future. So they wind up getting picked up again with more charges added on. So if you're wealthy, you can walk out of jail with serious charges against you. If you have a broken taillight or something like that, or an expired tag because you couldn't afford to renew your tags, then you get all these additional charges and charges and charges added on and added on and added on. So again, this is a profit system. A lot of municipalities rely on the income from these bonds. I mean, why do police departments go out on these warrant drives? They're not focusing on the most serious offenders most of the time. They're just going for sheer numbers. How many people can they pick up on these warrants? Doesn't matter whether your offense was jaywalking or broken taillight or, yes, child abusers, child sex offenders can have a bond and pay that bond and walk out of jail. This is absolutely a war on the poor. And in many places, marijuana is a big thing. And in some states, New Mexico, if you're smoking a joint illegally, it's a $25 ticket. If in Alabama, if you're caught with less than an ounce of marijuana, it's something like a $50,000 fine and a year in jail. Yes, this is for real. And so, who's most likely to be able to pay and get out of any jail time? Not the poor person, not the, that needs the most emotional relief and may need medical relief. They may turn to marijuana because nothing else helps, or because it's less expensive than the pharmaceutical alternatives, which they'll have to go to a doctor, pay the doctor, then they have to go to the pharmacy, and just the pharmaceutical might cost more than going and getting pot. Addiction, a big thing. Yeah, okay, so you have to agree to court-ordered addiction treatment. Who can afford that? Can the poor people afford that when they need to be working, taking care of their children or what have you? There are there are millions of functioning addicts in this country. But if the court orders you to take rehabilitation, well, that might include, having to be an inpatient or take off from work to go on a daily basis or what have you to go through this, and then it's going to be an additional charge, and then there's court costs and all this stuff added on and added on and added on. It's a war on the poor. I can agree with the addiction treatment if that treatment is being provided. But most of the time it is not provided. You have to pay for that treatment. And yes, addiction should be treated as an illness, not a crime. Anyway, it is absolutely time to end the cash bail system in this country. We are the only developed country that still has a cash bail system. This is a, prison for the poor. And we need to recognize it as such. We split up families. We destroy livelihoods. All for minor things. Anyway, share this video. Talk about these subjects. We need to make these things into mass movements. There are so many things we need to turn into mass movements. And this is just one of them. Anyway, share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel. I'll see you in the next one.